أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا حبيب إله رب العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to question time. Every week we are here attending to some of your questions that are sent to us via email or through the community, particularly focusing upon the events that unfolds during the months or the holy months that we face. Now today or tonight we will be looking at one of the phenomena, which is the spreading of earth, which we would like to call it as Earth Day, Dahwal Ard. It's a very unique reality that Quran focuses upon and also asks its community to focus towards by marking a specific day, which is the 25th of Ziqada in the calendar of Muslims. This points out to the all-encompassing approach of Islam to pay attention to the environment, to the surroundings, and to take care of them. As we are fully aware that the nature is considered as an amana, as a trust that is given by God to mankind. So this requires of us to really celebrate, this requires for us to really commemorate, to really pay attention to and to take care of it. So in order that a person is reminded of, in order that this nature is an amana, is a trust, in order that there is an importance of the environment, Islam pins a date on the Islamic calendar. This is quite fascinating amongst the Shia school, particularly that 25th of Ziqada is considered as the day of Dawal Ard. Now we don't really find this among the other schools of thought, but particularly in our school of thought, in the Shia school of thought, we have a day of celebration that, and certain amal and ibadat are recommended for that day, so that one carries these amal out, so that one remembers it, one knows the purpose of it. So this points out to that how much we should be paying attention to our atmosphere, to our environment, to take care of them. As a matter of fact, as we find within the modern secular culture, you have the Earth Day, you have the Green Day, where they pay attention to the environment. This is something after recognizing the loss that man faces by not taking care of the trees, of the of the nature. Then they come up and say that, oh, okay, we need to have a date. We will call that an Earth Day. We'll call that the day, the Green Day, or we'll call that the day in which we will focus upon our environment, so that there should be conferences, so that there should be sort of certain laws should be passed in order that the nature, in order that these trees and whatnot should be taken care of. The realization of this is after looking at the loss of ours through our own hands, through our modern sort of capitalist embarkment upon usurping the nature, embarkment upon destroying the nature. Then we realize that, oh, excuse me, we got to be careful. There's a hole in the ozone layer. We can't cut down trees. We can't contaminate water because it is affecting our life. But if you look at in Islam, from the very beginning, where there was no understanding of the ecology, where there was no understanding of sort of these modern research, where one comes to understand that what affects the nature, what doesn't affect the nature, Islam have already pinned a date as known as Dahwal Ard, known as the day on which the earth spreads, or the Earth Day, if you want to call in the modern terms, right? So Islam have paid attention to this, and particularly those who are the true preachers of Islam, those who are the protectors of Islam, such as the Ahlul Bayt, we find that, Imam Rada alayhi salam mentioning that a person, there was a individual, the companion, who was a mehman, who was a guest of Imam Rada with his son, and Imam Rada says that, do you know what is the date? 25th is the day where the earth was spread. 25th is the day that Hazrat Ibrahim was born. 25th is the day that the Jesus, son of Mary, was born. It comes up with many other factors as well, right? In order to really, remember that the importance of this earth, the importance of the environment, the importance of the nature. This is how Ahlul Bayt install this value, install this culture, install this sort of important realities that one really needs to focus upon. But unfortunately, the followers may have been asleep, may have been recorded this as a something ritualistic, something very cultural. Perhaps we have to have some sort of celebration, not focus upon the all-encompassing approach of Islam, where Islam means that one really lives Islam. Islam means that his sleeping, his drinking, his transaction, everything is where he functions in through those uniquely transferred, taught by the awliya, by the representatives of God. Now, this is just in regards to understanding the dahwal ardh, the spreading of earth, from from sort of a modern or contemporary point of view, that it is very much required by our communities, by our centers, by our people, that we go out in public, we we kind of, how shall I say, have a relationship with all those people who are trying to save the environment, and pin this date and regard this day, mark this date as a day of nature, as a day of earth, as a day that we pay attention to, and we have celebration for this day. Now, certain verses from the Quran which unfolds this reality of Dahwal Ard in Surah Naziyat, as it says, Wal arda ba'da dhalika dahaha. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, as Quran says, that the earth after this, basically, this was a question in regards to the resurrection of the souls. People were denying the ma'ad, they were denying the qiyamah. And then you find that the Quran clearly points out to this reality, and it says that, how can you, for example, deny the existence of bringing back from the dead, where we have seen that creation of this heaven and earth. لَخَلْقُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ أَكْبَرُ مِنْ خَلْقِ النَّاسِ وَلَكِنْ أَكْثَرَ النَّاسَ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. Isn't it so that the creation of the heaven and earth was akbar, was greater, min khalq nas, than creation of this human being, walakin akthar nas, however many of them are la ya'lamun, they are unaware of. So how can you really deny that when God is saying that He will bring back to life after a person dies, where you see the heaven, where you see the earth, where God have created this, and this is much bigger and greater than just bringing back a soul to its original state, to its original form, or bringing back to life. So the verses of the Quran discusses this, how Allah created the heaven, how there was water on the earth. There was this rain which filled the earth. There was this rain of the first creation, and the whole globe and the whole earth was water. Now, I don't want to discuss in parallel the modern scientific discoveries, or of how earth came into existence, how earth was before the creation of Adam. They also are of the same belief that the earth was a ball of water. There was water everywhere. There was nothing but water, and eventually the earth sort of comes out from this water. And Islam also have a similar opinion, which we'll look at it now. The scientific discoveries also talk about water, and the same way the Quran also points out to in regards to this floods and rain, that was there in the beginning. And wal arda ba'da dhalik, and after this dahaha, which comes from daw, which means to spread, which means to really, in other meaning, we find that it also have the meaning to shake from its original place. From this original place it shakes up. That's what also dahaha means. So originally, when we look at the verses that continue, wa akhraja minha maha wa mar'aha, it also says that, and from this earth the water comes out from it. So eventually it could be pointing out to the earth first, the ground first, for example, and within this earth there was water. And that's why the geologist, or those people who study sciences, they say that there is water within the earth that kind of comes out. These all streams that we have, these natural falls that we see, like from the mountain, there is sort of like water coming out. There's hard rock, but in between this hard rock you have this water springing out from it, which are the natural springs and all that. So earth, wa akhraja minha maha, from this earth, water has come out. So now it talks about that there was this water either comes out so much, and there was rain as well, which God talks about the rain, it filled the earth. Now once that happened, eventually another stage of creation takes place. After this fills this earth for some reason, in order that earth becomes perhaps fertile, in order that earth becomes a source of life, then God brings out the earth again, which sees the heaven after a while. Because even in regards to the Qiyamah, this analogy makes sense, that before Qiyamah there will be rain, like as there was rain before the creation, rain and rain and rain, which is known as the rain of resurrection. This rain, after this immense amount of rain, you have the earth coming out, right? So after this immense amount of rain, where the body parts of human beings spreads, and God makes these streams towards their graves, and all these body parts which were going on, they goes towards the grave, and then in that laboratory in the grave, the body is formed, and they are raised up, and they sit on the grave, and they look left and right, and they say, Hada yawmun, sadaqal mursalun. In Surah Yasin we recite, this is the day, because they were in a state of shock. Everybody on the day of judgment sitting on their grave, looking at what's going on, because they were asleep for a very long time. They have forgotten what has happened for millions of years perhaps, because there are certain riwayat which points out to that the amount of time that will take place from Qiyamah till they are raised, from the time that all souls are died, every soul, every creation dies, they cease to exist. Even Israel, when that trumpet is blown, the first surah, the first trumpet, when Israfil blows, everything destruction, everything dies, everything ceases to exist. Even Israfil also, even Israel also. From that time first sur, first trumpet blowing, till the second trumpet Israfil blows, what is the time? From the first trumpet to the second trumpet, what is the time period? The riwayat says that it is the same amount of time that takes place from Hazrat Adam till Qiyamah. How long it took place? So that amount of time, all the souls, every soul is dead. Every soul have ceased. They are all in barzakh. Then the second trumpet is blown, that time period. Then everything comes back to life. That is Qiyamah. Everything stands back and sits on their grave. That is Qiyamah. Now, this is a long period of time. So when a person is in coma, when a person is ceased to exist, when he is dead, obviously when he comes back to life, when you wake up for the first time, even in our normal sleep, we are like a bit, it takes time for us to really adjust, for us to really think what happened, what was it last night, how was it last night, right? So the same way, when we will come back to life, we'll be like, oh, what happened? It was a long period of time. And they will say, hada yawmun, this is the day, sadaqal mursalun, that God have promised, right? So the same way, it says that there was a rain in the beginning, in the beginning of the earth coming on. Wal arda ba'da dhalika dahaha, wa akhraja minha maha wa mar'aha, right? So there was rain, and there was rain, and there was water everywhere. And wal arda ba'da dhalik, and after this, dahaha, the earth starts to spread. This is 25th of Dhul Qa'dah, that the earth saw the sunlight. And you know where it began from? The first earth which came out was in the Middle East, was the Zameen, was the earth of Kaaba. That's the earth that comes out first and embraces the heaven and becomes the Kaaba, becomes the house of God. It kind of pulls out from this water like a magnet towards the arsh, because Kaaba is right underneath the arsh. Symbolically speaking, you have the arsh of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Obviously, arsh is, we really cannot imagine in regards to what arsh is. I had mentioned this earlier. Even the kursi of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it covers the whole creation. The 7 heavens, the 7 layers of earth, everything, the whole universe, which we see is just the first level. Imagine this folded 7 times. So the kursi is wasiya kursiyu samawat wal ard, or wasiya kursiyu samawat wal ard, whatsoever, even the heaven and earth and whatsoever, the kursi of the Lord is encompassing, is encircling this. And beyond the kursi is the Arshur Rahman. Kursi is just a stepping stool, is a small stool that the king sits and puts his feet on. So you have this kursi of Allah, which is covering the heaven and the earth. And then you have this Kaaba, right? This Kaaba is parallel, is right underneath the Arsh. So this earth comes out as if it has a magnet towards the Arsh ar-Rahman, towards the Kursi of Rahman of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Malik Jawad Aghay Tabrizi, the Ustad of Imam Khomeini, the book which is very famous known as Muraqibat, which also translated in English and in Urdu as well. You can find it in Farsi and originally written in Arabic, Al-Muraqibat, which have the amal of the months, what amal to be carried out, and an explanation of these amal. Malik Jawad Aghay Tabrizi was a great scholar, marhum. May Allah bless his soul, increase his daraja. He was the teacher of Imam Khomeini in akhlaq, and the first thing which Imam Khomeini did when he went to Qom, obviously after ziyarat of Hazrat Masuma and all that, was that he visited the grave of Malik Jawad Aghay Tabrizi, which is in Sheikhain. when you go to do the ziyarat of Hazrat Masuma, inquire about the grave of Malik Jawad Agha Tabrizi, which is in the graveyard called Sheikhain, which is very close to the haram of Hazrat Masuma. And you go there, and there is a very humble grave underneath the sky, in a very small sort of graveyard of Malik Jawad Agha Tabrizi, may Allah bless his soul. He wrote a book known as Muraqibat, which have the amals of the month, and it should be a book which we should all have in our houses to really reflect upon the importance of the dates. He explains a bit, he gives an irfani explanation, a marifati explanation of the days, and also he talks about the amal that needs to be carried out. In this book, Malik Jawad Agha Tabrizi, he says that, first is that the month of the Qada is a month in which we have to recognize the bounties of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the ni'mat that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has provided. And 25th of the month, which is the Dahwal Ard, which is the day that the earths have spread by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it is the day which one should really recognize and celebrate. And it is a very important day of recognition of this earth, that Allah have given this ni'mat and blessing and made this earth the house of God, by which we are allowed to go and do ibadat. It is an opportunity given by God. It is a blessing by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that we should really remember that God have given us the opportunity, have recognized us that we are capable of worshipping Him. It is a big ni'mat that God have counted us as His servant and His worshipper. Really so first of all, recognition of the ni'mat brings about shukr. If we recognize and we understand what Islam is, then we will be thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah, what did I do that you made me a Muslim? What did I do that I accepted this faith of Islam? If we understand what Islam is, if we have the knowledge and marifat of what Islam is, unfortunately we don't really dig into, we don't really engage ourselves in increasing marifat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If we just recite the translations of the dua, just the translations of the dua, it will give us so much knowledge. It will give us the knowledge to understand what Tawheed is, how God is, how He functions, the importance of wilayat, the importance of Imam. Just the translation, we don't really need to listen to a speech. Yes, those are all good. Read a book. If we do not have access to those things, just the du'as and translation and understanding these du'as will increase our knowledge. Now, first of all, is recognition, is understanding. The purpose of life is to have knowledge, is to increase marifat. The purpose is not ibadat, because ibadat, although the Quran says that ma khalaqtul jinna wal ins illa liya'budun, ibadat will not be correct, will not be right if I don't have understanding. Many people do ibadat, but their ibadat is true ibadat of that Tawheed, of that God who is one. They worship many gods, they might worship the same God with strange understanding that the Quran, when it says, when the hell says that hal min mazid, is there any more, then God put His feet inside the hell, and then the hell was satisfied. Is this Tawheed? What type of understanding is this? That God have arsh, He sits on it physically. Some do believe that, right? Muslims, right? So what type of belief is this that have this? So they are doing ibadat as well. Many others are doing ibadat as well. Ma khalaqtul jinna wal insa illa liya'budun, true, but liya'rifuhu, in order with the marifat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when we have the understanding and the knowledge of the bounties, this gives us the opportunity of doing shukr, because shukr is greatest ibadat. Thanksgiving is greatest ibadat. So Allah on the 25th of the Qada, which is the day of Dahwal Ard, that the earth have spread, we recognize this great earth, the importance of this earth, where it is the house of God, where God have given us opportunity to really become His servant, to worship, to do tawaf, to do ibadat, and really come out of the sins that we have committed, purify us and enter paradise, right? It is through that Kaaba, it is through that Hajj, it is through that ibadat, it is worshipping towards that, right? So now Jawad Malik Aghay Tabrizi Rahmatullah Alayhi, that's what he says, that we should really recognize. As we all know, Amirul Mu'mineen says that the day that the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reached the earth is the 25th of the Qada. That's the first day that the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reached the earth, right? And it should be celebrated. One should really fast. A person who does ibadat or who fast, it is one of the 4 unique fasts that's been mentioned in the riwayat, that one should fast on the day of Dahwal Ard. It is one of those 4 fasts, which is equivalent to 70 years of ibadat, just the fasting. A person who worships at night as well, it is equivalent to 100 years of ibadat, as if one night a person have done ibadat and then he fasts on that day. It is as if he has worshipped for 100 years. So one should not really leave the opportunity of celebrating this day of Dahwal Arz and fasting and doing ibadat on the 25th, the eve of 25th, which is the 24th, which happens to be tonight, and tomorrow is the 25th. I would recommend, and tonight also being the Thursday night, it multiplies, the sawab multiplies. So I request all of my dear brothers and sisters to seek forgiveness, to worship God, to do ibadat tonight, and also fast tomorrow. And Allah give me also the tawfiq, not just be that I speak and I say these things, and I also practice. You pray for me as well, that we pray 2 rakat prayer, when the sun reaches the zenith, and we pray 2 rakat prayer, in which, as you know, we recite 5 times Surah Shams, Wash-Shamsi wa-Duhaha, right? That surah to be recited, and other du'as that are there. Inshallah, you might have received some of the forwards here and there, and in Mafati as well you have this dua. So refer to those. I would ask you to refer to those. I'm referring to those, so you make use of the day, inshallah. Now, as the earth came out, and that was the earth of Kaaba, Makkah, that was the earth that comes out from the water first, and it starts to spread from there. The ni'mat and the barakat and the life came from that Kaaba. It starts to spread. It starts to spread, and we are also approaching the Hajj now. And this earth becomes the house of God, and in which God invites His worshippers. People who, are invited by God, they say labbaik, Allahumma labbaik, labbaik, la sharika laka labbaik, innal hamda wan ni'mata, it is a ni'mat, laka wal mulk, la sharika laka labbaik. I congratulate to all of my dear brothers and sisters who've been invited by God to say labbaik to the call of God, who've been given the opportunity to go for Hajj this year. A greetings, a mubaraki, a celebration, an occasion of joy and happiness, and well wishes to all of my dear Hajis, to all of my dear brothers and sisters who are going for Hajj, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make this Hajj a maqbool, and your sa'i mashkur, accept your sa'i and ibadat, your tawaf, your ruku and your sujood, and your amal in Arafah and Mina, and the ziyarat of Nabi and the Ahl Bayt alayhimus salam, and bring you out of this ibadat like a child, like a baby, without any sort of sins being counted as God have promised, that a person who comes out of Arafah is pure like an angel, is pure like a person who have come out of the belly of the mother, newborn completely. His sins are forgiven. And the greatest sin on the day of Arafah is to really think that God have not forgiven me. No, our sins are so little, they're maqabel in comparison to the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the day of Arafah where the sins are forgiven. So greetings to and congratulations to all of those who judge. May this safar, may this trip be a trip of success, a trip of tawheed. Now, a few things that I just wanted to point out to, and the importance of this trip is that, in connection with Dahwul Arz, the first thing that earth came out is the Kaaba. Now you are going towards this land, towards this blessed land of Kaaba, where there is house of God, where it is there, exactly below the Arshur Rahman, below the Kursi of Rahman, below the Lawh Mahfuz, below that tablet, and you are going towards that, filled with manifestations of mercy of God, Tajalliyat Ilahi. It is a safar, and it is a trip, it is a journey towards Tawheed. Hajj is all Tawheed, manifestations of these different unique tajalliyat, theophanies of that oneness of God. But we also have to remember that look how God, who is one, and it is a journey of Tawheed. It is nothing but reflections of Tawheed, but at the same time, He balances that with some of those acts of human beings, like how the Hajara was running between Safa and Marwa, how she was running. Haji goes there and he runs between the mountain of Safa and Marwa. Tawheed, but it's been reflected Tawheed here. It is considered as that ibadat here, because Hazrat Ibrahim asked the Malaika, wa arena manasikana, O Allah, he made the Kaaba, wa arena, show us the manasik of Hajj. The Arafah, the place where Adam and Hawa become marifat of each other, that's why that name is known as Arafah, right? But at the same time, reflections of Tawheed there. So know that this journey is a journey of God and Tawheed, and there isn't any ni'matin famin Allah. Every ni'mat, everything that is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Our rizq, our rozi, our Jannah, our coming out of hell is by God. And that should be our purpose of this journey. Labbaik Allahumma labbaik, labbaik la sharika laka labbaik, innal hamda wa ni'mata laka wal mulk. This mulk is yours, O Lord. We have to make sure that this journey is the journey of Tawheed. Increase our ma'rifat of Tawheedi. Worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You are in that closest vicinity to that Arshur Rahman, in the closest vicinity of that tablet, of that kursi, of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of the house of God. So his journey is a journey of Tawheed, number one. Number two, not to forget those who are giving and brought this ni'mat to us. The understanding of Tawheed is brought to us by Ahl Bayt alayhimus salam, the champion of Tawheed, the Mawla al-Mawahideen, Amirul Mu'mineen, Ali ibn Abi Talib. He is the champion of Tawheed. The Ahl Bayt alayhimus salam, the Nabi Akram sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, who have brought this Quran, who have made all of these things reachable for us, this Tawheed reachable for us, those who have protected this Tawheed. It's not the question of who have given us this. It is only Allah who gives. The question is not who have given us. The question, because it is from Allah, but see from where He has given us, through what He has given us. He has given us this Tawheed, this Quran, through Ahl Bayt, through Rasul, through Nabi Akram. So we have to honor them. We have to take our Tawheed, our understanding, our Ma'rifat from Ahl Bayt alayhimus salam. That is the true understanding of Tawheed. Not to forget the Wilayat of Ahl Bayt alayhimus salam. The Imam of our time, he goes on Hajj as well. When one becomes close to the vicinity of the Arshur Rahman, to the kursi, to the tablet, to the house of God, one becomes close to the wali mutlaq, to that wali, to that representative of God as well, because he is doing Hajj as well. The Imam of the time is doing Hajj with you all. The Imam of the time is with you. You are in the closest vicinity physically. Obviously, the presence of God is everywhere. وَهُوَ مَعَكُمْ أَيْنَمَا كُنْتُمْ. God is everywhere. The kursi, the reflection of His divine kursi and arsh and tablet is, this earth is like a tiny, atom, less than that even compared to the creation, to the kursi of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Isn't it so, right? He is everywhere. But clearly says that Kaaba is particular. That physicality of being close to the Kaaba and achieving that blessing and mercy of God is there. On the same token, in the same way, the Haji is physically close to the Imam Waqt, to Imam Zaman. Ajjalallah ta'ala farajahu sharif, he is close to Imam Zaman as well, because Imam Zaman is present in Arafah. In that ground of Arafah, he is there with you. He is there with you. What a blessing to all our Hajis that they're gonna achieve and receive. And we request that they pray for all Muslimin, they pray for all Mu'mineen and Mu'minat. They pay attention to, it is a gathering of all Muslims. Pay attention to the account of how Muslims are being plundered, deviated by shayateen. That's why you have the act of hitting the shaitan when a person goes and do Ramiya Jamarat. Hajj, within the short period of span, a person carries out the actions in relation to that he comes out from sins and become Jannati, become a heavenly person, which also points out to that he becomes heavenly in all of his worldly actions as well. He focuses on what's going around the world, what's happening to Muslims, how they've been plundered, how they've been, basically, killed everywhere, all over the world. Pray for them all. Pray for justice. Pray for the reappearance of the Imam. Right? Remember them, what's going on in Yemen, in Syria, in Iraq, in Pakistan, in Kashmir, in Palestine, all over the place. And always focus upon the aspect of mercy of God, because Hajj is mercy. Hajj is all mercy. Hajj is all rahmat. Hajj is all faiz, is a bounty, is a blessing, is an efficacy, is a sort of special ni'mat from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, out special mercy. So try to take the aspect of mercy of God, the aspect of forgiveness. When you are asking, Hajis, when we are asking the one who is going to Hajj for forgiveness from other mu'mineen and mu'minat, isn't it so, before going to Hajj? So obviously it's the aspect of mercy right from the very beginning, the aspect of killing the ego right from the very beginning, and becoming humble in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When a person becomes humble, become merciful, and having and bringing that mercy and spreading that. Islam means mercy, Islam means love. Islam doesn't mean taking life as how we see today. For example, people are labeling Islam as, calling as Muslim terrorists, for example, and calling these acts of killing and taking life as an act of an Islamic state, for instance. No, that's not Islam. Islam is mercy, and this is the journey of mercy and journey of Tawheed. Finally, I request you all, my dear brothers and sisters, once again to pray for all the Muslimin, Mu'mineen and Mu'minat, your community and your marhumin as well. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive all our marhumin and mahshur them with Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept all your ibadat, and especially the ibadat of tonight, which is Dahwul Ardh, and the fast of tomorrow and the amal of tomorrow as well. Thank you very much for joining us. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.